Welcome, everyone, to this health deep dive. We've got some really interesting observations you've shared, little things you might notice about your body.
That's right.
And today, we're going to explore what these subtle signals might actually be telling you about what nutrients you might need. We're drawing on some solid sources here: the World Health Organization, the CDC, NCBI, PubMed Central.
Yep, the big ones.
Our mission really is to connect those little bodily whispers, to what the science actually says.
Exactly. And it's surprising how often we just, ignore these little signs, right? But when you look at the research, like from the WHO or CDC, you see these things can often link back to essential nutrients. It's about understanding your body's language.
Okay, let's try and unpack some of them. A really common one people notice is white spots on their fingernails. Forget the old wives' tales. What's the thinking now?
Well, it's interesting. Traditionally, people linked it to calcium, didn't they?
Yeah.
But more current thinking, you see hints of this when NCBI discusses nail health, suggests it might be more related to zinc levels. And sugar intake can actually impact your zinc.
Really? How does that work?
Well, the idea is that a high sugar intake might sort of deplete zinc. And since zinc is really important for growing healthy nails, well, those spots you see now, they could actually reflect what you were eating maybe 3 months ago when that bit of the nail was forming down at the base.
Wow. Okay, so it's like a little historical record on your nail.
Kind of, yeah.
All right, what about oily skin? Is that just, my teenage years haunting me, or could there be a nutrient connection?
Well, genetics definitely plays a part, but yeah, nutritionally.
Right.
If you think about what the CDC says about micronutrients for skin health, oily skin could be a sign, maybe an imbalance in androgens.
Hormones, right.
Exactly, hormones that affect oil production.
Yeah.
And zinc, interestingly, helps regulate those. It's also quite interesting, especially for women, that higher insulin levels, maybe from eating more carbs, can also potentially increase androgen production.
Leading to oilier skin, potentially.
Potentially, yes. It's a possible link.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, another common one, especially when it gets dry or cold, cracking at the corners of the mouth, or even cracked heels. What's the body saying there?
That often flags up potential B vitamin issues, particularly B2 and B3. The WHO is pretty clear on how vital these are for skin integrity.
Okay.
But wait, there's more. It's not always that simple. It can actually connect back to your gut health and even vitamin D levels.
How so?
Well, vitamin D helps support the good bacteria in your gut, right? And some of those little guys actually make B vitamins for you. So if you're low on D,
it could affect your B vitamins, which then affects your skin. Wow.
It's all connected.
It really is. Okay, what about that annoying flaky skin? Sometimes around the nose, foreheads?
Yeah, that seborrheic dermatitis type picture. When you look at resources like NCBI, they discuss how nutritional imbalances show up on the skin. Flaking like that often points towards an imbalance in your essential fatty acids.
Omega-3s and 6s.
Exactly. Specifically, maybe too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3. Think about your diet, lots of nuts, seeds, maybe fried foods. Those tend to be higher in omega-6.
Right.
And are you getting enough omega-3 from things like fish, sardines, maybe cod liver oil? It's about getting that balance right.
Reducing some, increasing others. Got it. Now, something more serious, yellow eyes, jaundice. That's straight to the doctor, right? Or is there any nutrient link?
You're absolutely right. Jaundice is a big warning sign. It usually points directly to a liver or gallbladder problem.
Okay.
These organs deal with bilirubin, that yellow stuff from old red blood cells. While, long-term poor nutrition could eventually impact liver function, jaundice itself isn't usually a direct sign of a deficiency per se. It's more likely an immediate issue with the organ itself needing urgent medical attention.
Definitely. Good clarification. Now, shifting gears, a chronic cough. Annoying, persistent. Could diet play any role?
It's surprising, but sometimes yes. Obviously, you rule out infections, allergies, asthma first, but occasionally a calcium deficiency might be involved.
Calcium? For a cough?
Yeah, specifically a form called calcium lactate. It seems to help relax the muscles in the throat and larynx for some people, which could ease that kind of persistent, tickly cough.
Yeah.
It's not the first go-to, but it's an interesting possibility.
Never would have guessed calcium. Okay, bleeding or swollen gums. That seems pretty textbook.
It really is. That's a classic sign of, maybe not full-blown scurvy, but what we call subclinical scurvy, a mild vitamin C deficiency.
Right.
The CDC points out how crucial vitamin C is for making collagen. That's what keeps your gums strong and healthy, holds your teeth in place.
And keeps blood vessels from getting fragile.
Exactly. And here's another link. High sugar intake can actually interfere with how your body uses vitamin C, so they compete.
Ah, so cutting sugar helps your gums too?
It can.
Yeah.
And historically, there was talk about something called bioflavonoids, or vitamin P, which work with vitamin C to strengthen those tiny capillaries in the gums.
Fascinating. Okay, night vision problems. That sounds very specific to one vitamin.
It usually is. The WHO flags vitamin A deficiency as a huge cause of night blindness worldwide. You need vitamin A, the active form, retinol.
That's the one from animal sources?
Right. Dairy, eggs, liver, fatty fish. Your body uses that retinol to make rhodopsin. That's the pigment in your eyes you need to see when the light's low.
And the plant form beta-carotene?
Your body has to convert that into retinol, and that conversion isn't always super efficient, especially if you have issues with, say, bile production or liver function that affect fat absorption.
Got it. So retinol is more direct. Now, chapped lips, is that just windburn or?
It can be just dryness, sure, but like the cracking at the corners of the mouth, it often points back to B vitamins again, especially B2, riboflavin. NCBI resources mention how B vitamins maintain healthy mucous membranes like your lips. And diets high in refined grains, where B vitamins are often stripped out, can sometimes make it worse.
So maybe less white bread, more something else.
Unfortified nutritional yeast is a great source of B vitamins, actually, including B2.
Good tip. What about swelling, like in the feet or ankles? That pitting edema, is that nutrition related?
It can be. Circulation problems are common causes, obviously, and need checking out. But the CDC stresses electrolyte balance for fluid regulation. If your potassium is low compared to your sodium,
You might retain fluid.
sometimes, yeah, it can contribute. And again, refined sugar can mess with that sodium-potassium balance too. But definitely, persistent swelling needs a proper medical look.
Always best to check. Okay, some weird cravings now. Craving ice, pagophagia.
Yes, that one, and also craving dirt or claygeophagia are really strongly linked to iron deficiency.
Iron. Why ice?
Honestly, the exact why isn't crystal clear. Maybe it soothes mouth inflammation sometimes associated with anemia. But the link itself is well established by places like the WHO. It's a big red flag for low iron.
Especially in kids or menstruating women.
Exactly. Much better to get iron from red meat or liver extracts than chewing ice.
Definitely. Okay, angina, chest pain. Serious stuff.
Bang.
Any nutrient angle at all.
Right, first thing. Angina needs immediate medical assessment. It signals heart issues. But in the broader context of cardiovascular health that WHO and CDC talk about, some research has looked at vitamin E.
Vitamin E.
Specifically a form called tocotrienols rather than the more common tocopherols. There's some suggestion it might play a role, particularly if someone eats a lot of refined grains where the vitamin E is processed out. But it's not a primary treatment, more a background factor maybe.
Understood. Important distinction. Now, leg cramps, calf cramps at night, so common. Is it just dehydration?
Dehydration can contribute for sure, but a really common culprit is magnesium deficiency.
Magnesium, okay.
The CDC outlines how vital magnesium is for muscles and nerves to work properly. Think green leafy vegetables. The chlorophyll that makes them green actually contains magnesium.
Eat your greens.
Pretty much. Though sometimes potassium, sodium, or even vitamin B1 deficiency can play a role in cramps too. But magnesium is usually the first nutrient to think about.
Good to know. What about more? Mental signs, like feeling really irritable or your mind just racing, excessive thinking.
Yeah, mood and cognition. B vitamins are key players there too, especially B1, thiamine.
B1.
NCBI details its role in nerve function, neurotransmitters. So deficiency could manifest as irritability, nervousness, that feeling of your thoughts just spinning.
And you mentioned nutritional yeast earlier for B2.
Yep, it's also a good source of B1. Some people find it has a bit of a calming effect, potentially for that reason.
Interesting. Nutritional yeast is turning out to be quite useful. How about asthma? Any nutrient links to lung inflammation?
Well, vitamin D is getting a lot of attention for its role in the immune system and inflammation.
Right.
And some studies suggest that having good vitamin D levels might help manage lung inflammation, potentially lessening asthma severity. The CDC certainly emphasizes vitamin D's importance for overall health. It's an area to watch.
Definitely worth knowing for asthma sufferers. Okay, here's a very specific one. Losing the outer third of your eyebrows. What's that about?
That's quite specific, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's often linked to thyroid function.
The thyroid.
Yeah. You need iodine to make thyroid hormones, right? The WHO talks a lot about iodine deficiency disorders. If your thyroid hormone production is off, they can show up in various ways, including changes in hair growth, like losing that outer part of the brow.
Wow, such a small sign for potentially something bigger. Okay, what about tightness, say, just in the right shoulder blade area, the trapezius muscle?
That's an interesting one. Now, obviously, muscle tightness is usually musculoskeletal, posture, strain, etc. But some alternative views connect the gallbladder's function or lack of bile salts to nerve pathways that might affect that specific area on the right side.
Gallbladder affecting the shoulder.
It's more of an indirect, sort of referred connection idea, not something strongly emphasized by the major scientific bodies like CDC or WHO, but it's a connection sometimes discussed in holistic circles.
Okay, interesting possibility. Nightmares. Can vitamins affect our dreams?
Well, stress and mental health are the big drivers, of course. But adequate B vitamins support overall neurological function. Vitamin B1, again, has a role in the amygdala, the brain's fear center.
Ah, B1 again.
Yeah, and remember how refined carbs can deplete B1. So theoretically, poor diet could potentially play a tiny background role in influencing sleep quality or maybe even dream content, but it's certainly not a primary cause.
Right, not the main cause, but maybe a contributing factor. Okay, craving salty crisps, especially late at night. Is that just habit or need?
Could be either. But the CDC highlights how important sodium is for fluid balance. If you're active, sweat a lot during the day, you might actually be a bit low on sodium by evening.
So the craving is real.
It could be. The body might be asking for salt. Using sea salt, which has trace minerals, and making sure you balance it with enough potassium is key, not just reaching for junk food salt.
Good point. Stiff lower back, low back pain may be worse in winter.
Ah, yes. Winter back pain. Vitamin D again.
Because of less sun.
Exactly. Vitamin D is crucial for bone health, obviously, but also for taming inflammation. CDC notes its role in musculoskeletal health. Lower D levels in winter could mean more inflammation generally, potentially making back pain feel worse.
Makes sense. And we mentioned craving dirt before geophagia. Just to confirm, mainly iron deficiency.
That's still the strongest link, yes. Echoed in WHO resources and general nutritional science, especially in kids, pregnant women, or those with heavy menstruation. It's a sign to get iron levels checked.
Right. And erectile dysfunction. Any nutrient connection there.
Zinc is important. The CDC notes its role in hormone production, including testosterone. So while ED has many potential causes, ensuring adequate zinc is part of supporting overall reproductive health. A deficiency could be a factor in some cases.
Okay. And finally, depression. We hear a lot about vitamin D and mood.
Yes, there's definitely research. You can find studies via NCBI or PubMed Central exploring that link between vitamin D and serotonin, the feel-good neurotransmitter.
So low D could affect mood?
It's thought to be a potential factor. Depression is really complex, of course, with many causes. But checking and correcting vitamin D levels is often part of a holistic approach to supporting mental well-being.
This has been absolutely fascinating. Just amazing how these little, sometimes odd signs could potentially point towards what our bodies need nutritionally. Thanks for connecting those dots using solid science.
My pleasure. I think the main thing is just to, listen to your body. These signs, viewed through the lens of what we know from organizations like WHO, CDC, and the research databases, they can be valuable clues. It encourages us to pay a bit more attention.
Absolutely. So we've taken quite a deep dive today into how your body might be signaling nutrient needs, drawing on that solid scientific understanding. Remember, everyone's different. These are just potential indicators.
Exactly. Not diagnoses.
Definitely. We really encourage you to share this info with family, with friends, anyone you think might find it useful. And if you have specific health concerns, or maybe something we discussed sparked a question about your own health, please do leave a comment. Our naturopath and health advisor, Marino Micheloni, ND, will do his very best to look at your queries and offer some further insights. We really believe in understanding your body better to take proactive steps.
Here.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Which of these signs, if any, really resonated with you today? Thinking about that, what might be just one small, informed change you could maybe explore based on what we've unpacked?